My name is John. Call sign November Golf 9 Mike. I titled it My POTA Journey. A more appropriate term would also it's primarily about POTA, but it's also about like a better explanation on how I personally deal with being portable, whether that's in the backyard or at a non-POTA park or at my grandpa's farm, something like that. But this picture I just took last weekend. This was at Maumee Bay State Park, just outside of Toledo, Ohio. That right there is the beach, and that's Lake Erie, looking north. Fun little fact is there's this little speck all the way out here, and that's how Toledo handles its water distribution for the city. So is they siphon it from the lake there.
Actually, it oscillates.
A little bit about myself. In April of 21, I got my technicians. My original call sign was NG9M. About 2 weeks later after that, I obtained my general. So this was all during COVID.
Quiet, please. Thank you.
So I'm kind of a COVID baby, is the nickname I gave myself. In April of 23, I obtained my extra. I was 89 CV, and about 2 months later is when I applied and got the vanity call sign of NG9M. This picture here is some of you may remember about a year or so ago. Is I posted on the Rah Rah Facebook page. I wanted to try to do a all 2-meter activation. And so I found a hill at the park, and I actually took this DX Commander here. This goes up 33 feet, and at the end there's just a 2-meter J pole, and I made 11. I actually right at 10 contacts is right when we activated the park, just using all 2-meter. So I later learned that with parks on the air, you need 10 contacts, but the thing is you can contact the same 5 people on a different band, and it counts as an extra contact, which would have been helpful for that night, because I would have just gone to 70 centimeters and said, hey, everyone go over to 70 now, and then we'll make some 70 centimeter QSOs. But that was a fun night. So I know some of you in here helped me with that. So,
Were you doing that simplex or through the repeaters?
yeah, that was simplex.
Okay.
So no, there's no repeater contacts allowed.
Okay.
But, if anyone has a question, just say so. I forgot
Did you
my
work on VHF?
what?
How many stations did you work?
That was 10 that night.
So
So 10 different contacts.
that's a come down from your HF, right?
Yeah, just a little bit. I do have one 6-meter SSB QSO there. So, also, I forgot my lecture notes tonight. So if anyone has a question, just ask. So, all right, what we'll be covering tonight, how did I get into amateur radio? Basically, it was during COVID, so I was off work, no school. At the time, I was also working at AAR down at the airport as an avionics tech, working on radios. And so I wanted something to keep me busy, so I decided to get into amateur radio. Also, how I personally handle portable operations, and a little bit of the evolution of my thought process behind it. All right, so what's the best radio? If someone asks you what the best radio, usually our response is, it's the one that gets you on the air. So
One that works.
yeah, the one that works. There you go. Yeah. So this picture was taken in Pennsylvania. I didn't activate this. This wasn't a park. I went to Amish country on a family vacation, and during my entire time there, during all the travel there, I thought, oh, I'm going to make some amazing contacts. I'm out in the middle of nowhere. There's no electricity anywhere, and I was sorely mistaken. I get on the property, I had the worst RFI ever. Come to find out, I walk around the block, I turn the corner, it's a massive solar panel field. So I only made like 2 QSOs because I was trying to get in between the emissions. So that's for those who don't know, that's the Yaesu 891 and the LDG tuner. So it was very dry out there, so there wasn't anywhere to sit. So on that setup, I had a Chameleon MPass light, which is a vertical antenna with a 5-to-1 unattached to it, and that requires a tuner. And it's a good antenna. I like it quite a bit. That's the setup from Pennsylvania. So it was beautiful country out there.
Okay.
And but yeah, right behind this picture is you turn around and it was just all solar panels. So, but I couldn't complain about the view. That's the Chameleon MPass. If you could see it's hard to always see antennas in pictures, but that's a 17-foot telescopic whip. And you got the ground spike, the matching units down here at the base, and then you also have to have a radio with it, a radial wire with it. So that's what I have going over there along the ground. So I did get into Cuba though on 10 meters. So the little QSOs that I did make, I at least made one good DX contact. My first activation was not in Illinois. I just got my general, and during that time I was also learning CD. So I really wasn't proficient to learn. At that time I wasn't proficient with my copy of CW. So this is US 1326 York River State Park. It was in Virginia. I don't have a picture of my radio setup at that time, but I just used the Xiegu X5105. It's a QRP radio, 5 watts, all mode, and then a 9-to-1 random wire antenna. And the wire antenna length was around 27 feet. And I just had a cheap fishing pole from Walmart. And that's what I set it up with, an inverted V fashion. So with me, I like the random wires and messing with antennas and figuring out what works where, because I think that's a good way to go about portable operations. Is you're not always going to have the most optimum setup. And this was case in point. The tide was pretty high that day, and there was no trees on the beach. It was all brush. So I just had a little 8-foot fishing pole. It took me 2.5 hours to make 10 contacts.
Wow.
So, but it's still a beautiful park.
John, before you just leave that screen, it says US 1326 in the park name.
Yeah.
I've talked with people. I've never went to the park and done what you're doing. I've been the guy and sitting in the comfortable shack saying, hey.
Yeah.
Are you going to get into a little bit about kind of that numbering system and how that all works a little? As parks on, okay, later in your presentation.
I could do that. I could do that right
No,
now.
I'm not trying to.
I was going to later. So the park designations is every state park or like a national park gets designated a number, and those numbers are go for each country. So for us, we have our prefix is US, and then it goes all the way from 0001, which is actually Arcadia National Park up in Maine.
Cool.
And then I don't know how many are.
But they're all numbered.
They're all numbered. I think there's 100,000 different designations already.
Okay.
So they've gone to they expanded the rules last year to start including state preserves, not county preserves, but state preserves. So I know here we got Rock Cut, Rock and Bog, and Kishwaukee. So
Where would you find a list of all these numbers if you were to go look for them?
you kind of have to drill down on the website. So if you go to POTA.app is the website,
Okay.
and then if you go to, I believe there's a, you can look at the map to see what's around, but then it's a hidden section. If you're interested, I can look it up for you. But I found it before where you can actually drill down to state level, and then it lists out everything. So, but the easiest way to do it is to go to the map feature on the website to see what's in your area. So,
You said that was POTA.org?
POTA.app, APP, Alpha Papa Papa.
And it's not an app, it's just the word that.
That's just.
Yeah, it's there's no, like, you don't have to go to an app store or anything. Just on your web browser, POTA.app.
No, but we want to celebrate.
There's 12,000 parks,
Is it 12,000? All right.
12,128.
Okay.
In a lot of countries.
In a lot of countries. Surprisingly, Afghanistan hasn't been activated yet.
Oh, I thought you were going to do that.
That'll be my de-expedition. So this is why I got into Morse code. I figured I'd share a little funny. So it says, darling, isn't that obsolete? And he goes, not at all, and certainly not in the Himalayas. So does anyone know what superhero that is?
Phantom.
Yeah, there you go.
There's an FC300 back there.
I'm very impressed.
I think the picture's reversed
What?
by the lever on the keys on the left side.
Yeah, it looks like a straight. I'm not sure what he's holding. Oh, it looks like he's pushing something.
It's a head key.
So the way I got into Morse code, just a little side tangent, is 5 watts SSB is pretty tough. And so I wanted to be as efficient as possible as I could with what I had and with what I could afford at that time. So for about a month there, I forced myself to listen to CW practice files nonstop. And I also used licw.net. It's it sends you text string files at any setting, 10 words a minute, all the way up to 35 plus, using different type of like Farnsworth method with the spacing, and then you just type in what you hear. So I was doing that between my breaks at school when I finally went back into school. And then during my commutes, I would actually listen to Morse Code Ninja. So has anyone ever heard of Morse Code Ninja? Okay. I forget the call sign, but he created a head copy. He creates head copy MP3 files from 10 words a minute to about, I want to say he's even made some like 40 word per minute files to help with instant character recognition. And it starts all the way from single digit, single letter, one at a time. Then he'll make like state codes to call signs, to phrases, to sentences. And it's just a really good program to do if you want to get into CW, if you want to get into Morse code and get better, and even get better at your head copy. Even at work today, I still listen to the practice files during break if I haven't done CW in a few days, just to keep up on it. All right.
I kind of slowed you down last week.
What?
I said I kind of slowed you down.
Oh, we won't talk about that, Larry. So everyone knows what rock cut looks like. So there's a picture of my dog Remy. He's 1 year old. He's about a year and a half now. He's a full-blooded golden retriever. That's my POTA buddy, and usually when I'm out at the park, he's with me. So we usually go take a walk around the trail or lake or wherever, and then when he sees me breaking out the gear to start setting up for an activation, he sleeps in the back of the car. So POTA's been really good, especially at Rock Hut. It's been a pretty low noise floor, but during the summer it will pick up with RFI from all the inverters from the RVs. I've met a lot of really nice people out there, some in this room, and that's been great. And I've had a lot of strange questions asked while I've been there. One time, Jimmy and I were out there with, actually it was the time Dave came out. The guy came up to us and he asked if we were tracking illegal poachers and trying to track the bullets with ultrasonic equipment. So,
What you telling us?
well, here's the great thing about that story is I told him, I'm like, no, this is what we're doing. We're amateur radio operators. We're doing this. And he replied with, are you sure? So, I've had people ask me if I'm tracking UFOs, if I'm listening to spy stations, or if I am a spy myself. But I did have one person, I'm not sure, I never got his name, but I ran into this guy a couple times. And it's to the point where I actually wrote down my name and email and gave him information on about getting his license. So that those opportunities can happen. So one thing I thought of that I wish I would have done, especially in those situations, is printed off a couple pamphlets or something like that and just handed it to them. Just be like, hey, this is what we're doing, just so they have like a visual representation. So this past summer, the wife and I went to Oklahoma. We went to the Pioneer Woman. Has anyone ever heard of the Pioneer Woman?
Southern Illinois.
Yeah. So she's always on like, was it like the Food Network or HGTV?
Something like Mother of the Prairie or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Madonna of the Prairie.
Yeah, Ree Drummond. Yeah, her husband's the largest landowner in the nation. So it's just her side project, I guess. All right, honey, stop. Leave me alone. Go do this. Go create your own TV show. But so this is in Missouri. It's a Route 66 State Park. This is well, that's the river, obviously. I only made 6 CW contacts with the ICOM 705, and I didn't have any room to set up, so I used a 20-meter hamstick. It was another situation where I wasn't aware of my surroundings, kind of like in Pennsylvania, and I ran into a lot of RFI issues. So, but what I like about POTA is you can have a failed activation. You can still upload your logs. You'll get credit for the contact, but especially the guy on the other end. Maybe he's never worked Route 66 before. Now he has. So, and plus you get to see views like this. I can't complain about that. During our trip, we also visited Wilson's Creek National Battlefield. It's part of the National Park Service. This one was pretty interesting because this was, for those that don't know, Wilson's Creek, it was one of the first and largest and deadliest battles west of the Mississippi during the Civil War. So we spent about 4 hours there. It's a beautiful museum, and the way they set it up was awesome. You have to be really respectful of your surroundings. especially on like a battle site like this. You don't want to put anything in the ground. You don't want to make the rangers upset. So I activated this part, and it's been activated quite a bit before, but it was the 20 meter hamstick on the van at that time. And what's nice is we all know hamsticks are not the most like efficient, but you can get away with it because people are trying to find you. So with this one, I actually had to turn off the radio. I had to call QRT. I had to call, say, hey, I'm ending it, and there were still people trying to contact me. So that's an interesting aspect of doing parks on the air, especially if you get a pileup going and you're not used to it. It can get pretty. It got pretty nerve-wracking for me a couple times, especially at Rock Hut. My first couple times doing CW only, where I had to pile up and I couldn't hear anything because I was stressing out. I actually called QRT and just turned off the radio. I'm like, even though I didn't have my activation, because I was just like, because I didn't know how to handle it at that time. So don't do what I did. If you get a pile up with CW and you're not used to it, if you hear a character, like a D or whatever, just send whatever characters you hear, send the question mark. People are going to want to work you. And just take the few minutes, work the station, and keep on going. Don't be afraid to use a question mark if you're ever in CW. So, for CW, which reminds me, this is the iambic paddle. For me, it sits on the left, Oz on the right. People swap them around depending on their handedness or however they learn. This is actually 3D printed from cwmorse.us. I love these guys. This is my second one. I accidentally broke my first one. But they're affordable. They're about, I want to say like 35 now, something like that. But they have straight keys, they have the iambics, and they have the cootie keys. So if you want, you can pass that around and see how that plastic feels on the fingers. If you're definitely not used to feeling it, like a 3D printed key, it's a lot different. So.
Did you print that?
No, I didn't. The guy in I think Texas. I think he's where he has a shop at. It's a dad and his two sons run the shop. So, and the website for that is cwmorse.us. So we finally got to Oklahoma, and as you can see, it was a great time. That's a big brush fire. Right after I took this picture, DC-10 came over about 200 feet over my head, dumping fire retardant. The only thing that stopped it from coming into town was a creek bed that was full of water. So I don't have a picture of it. I couldn't find it while I was creating this PowerPoint slide. But in Oklahoma, we were just in and around the Osage Nation tribe. And the state park in that area was the Osage State Park. So while we were out here visiting all the sites with, the Pioneer Woman and all that fun stuff, we went to the Osage Nation Museum. And they are actually directly related to the Kishwaukee tribes up here in Illinois. So I thought that was pretty interesting. They had a pretty big relationship with each other. All right, here we go. My personal favorite is antennas. I like to run different types of antennas. I like to build antennas, as Verna knows. I always text her and be like, hey, guess what I built? And it got to the point where she asked if she needed a 12-step program for me. So.
He said yes.
Does it come with wire?
Yeah, right. Well, even before this, Jimmy gave me some more ladder lines, so there we go. I'll send more pictures later. I did bring a antenna with me. I actually brought some stuff with me. I'll pass it around if anyone wants to take a look. This is I'll just clip it on there so the wire doesn't fall out. This is a 49 to 1, so end-fed half wave for 20 meters. And what's cool about this is there's actually a switch. You can't see it's covered up by the wire. If you look at it on the top right hand side of this, is you can change your impedance from 49 to 1, 56 to 1, and 64 to 1, depending on what band you're using, or if you're not quite getting a good SWR, you could try switching to one of the other spots. Normally 49 to 1 is safe for the higher bands, are more efficient for the higher bands. And then 64 to 1 are usually for low bands. So that's usually the good starting point. So I'll hand that around. And I'll explain what I do with the little S clips here in a few minutes. So
I have one of them. It's good to bring it.
So during that time when I was out at Rock Cut State Park with Dave and Jimmy, this is the W3EEP antenna. This ballon here is a 4 to 1 un. And then I made, I didn't use 20 meters. There's a plan out there to have a smaller footprint. But you got the ladder line, and it's almost kind of like, it's basically a ZEP with an un on it. And so I ran FT8 on this one just to see what kind of reports I would get. I wasn't getting a lot back on signal strength, but this antenna, if you want a good shortwave listening antenna, this would be one to consider, especially if you have a small footprint on your property. This antenna impressed me on the receive more than it did on the transmit. This is Rybakov. Has anyone ever heard of a Rybakov? All right. It's a vertical antenna. This time it has the 4 to 1, but it's a vertical configuration. So like with the DX, so like with this pole here that I got, the radiator goes 26 feet up, and then you have 4 radials. I usually go about 26 feet on each radial. So 4 radials and then 1 radiating element. I've used this on 10 meters and 20 with great success. It's a good, it's a easy to deploy antenna. It's very fast and you don't have to rely on any trees. During my POTA, I try not to deal with any trees or get anyone's way. This one also requires a tuner, both so far. This is a little Z-Match tuner. I actually bought this off of Amazon for about $40. And this thing has been amazing. It's been a really fun tuner to use. And it took a little time to learn it, but all in all, it's been a great tuning unit. So if you want to pass that around and show everyone.
John, what happens when you're operating and the antennas start to blow and pull things off the table?
Well, I have no idea what you're talking about. That was in my backyard. So funny enough, I built a doublet a few weeks ago. I haven't had a chance to use it in the field yet, but I will be for my final 27 contacts. I'm going to use the doublet. It was made with 450 ohm ladder line, and it was cut for 40 meters. During that time, I didn't make the feed line long enough. So last week, was it like about 2 weeks ago when we had all that wind, it actually almost blew my 705 off the table. So what I did is I took an electrical fence post that has the little rings on it, and I grabbed some slack off of the 450, and I just clipped it into the electrical fence post. So you have your insulator. It keeps you. It keeps how am I saying it? It keeps the slack on your radio side, so that when the wind blows, the weight's going to the fence post and not your radio. So that
That little tune that,
yeah, I've actually tuned my doublet with that tuner. I've actually tuned. I was able to tune 80 on it. I did get picked up on one reverse beacon on 80 for that. So it wasn't very efficient. And it was that I think it was the there's a beacon here in town, but it didn't work on 80. All right, so that's what you see there. This was one of the nights I was doing some CW practice. That's my setup now, is the ICOM 705 with the paddle that you all are seeing now. This is a 10 watt all mode radio and all band radio, so it does HF and VHF along with 70 centimeters. I don't use any of the digital voice on it. You can't do Yaesu System Fusion or D-Star or DMR through like a hotspot or anything like that. That doesn't count. So I've never used D-Star with this radio. But that's my current setup now. And the way I power this is there's a battery pack on the back of the ICOM 705. Just with the battery pack alone, it does 5 watts. But I had a 20 amp hour lithium ion battery from when I had that FT891, and that is only a few pounds. So I have no problem with, and that's what I use for my external battery. And now I can get 10 watts out of that radio. So before the lithium ion battery, I bought a RV sized lead acid battery from Walmart for like $100
oh my God.
to power. Yeah.
Yeah.
You carry that
That
thing.
in your backpack.
Yeah, you carry that thing around 3 or 4 times. You learn really quick what batteries you like and don't like. That was probably, geez, I want to say 50 pounds. I mean, I was struggling. So this is the backyard. Like I said, antennas are hard to see. This pole here is this guy here. So it's 30. This I got from DX Engineering. It's everyone knows what a DX Commander is.
Yep.
This is that pole for the DX Classic. It goes 33 feet up. The only thing is you don't want to use the top rung, the fish eyelet. It gets pretty bendy. Does anyone have that antenna? Oh, right there, perfect timing. So what I do to set this up is there's an eyelet here. I don't fish my wire through that eyelet because it's just a pain to get in and out. So I bought these S-clips off of Amazon, and I feed one end through a couple of the holes, and the other end goes like that. And then from there, I'm still about 30 feet up. I take this other end here, and I use that electrical fence post I was talking about earlier. I clip onto that. So within a few minutes, I have a 20-meter sloper I can use, and I can get on the air within about 5 minutes. So, but this configuration here is the doublet I was talking about earlier. That's in my backyard. And then between QSOs, I'm usually going down the slide. So. So this is at the park with the with the mast. It's a drive over mount. And then what I use to secure the DX Commander pull to the drive over mount is like the yellow gear ties that are made out of like was it like copper or aluminum covered in rubber, and I just twirl those a couple times and they stay on. If it gets especially windy, I've learned to keep a pack of heavy duty zip ties in the back of my car because I almost had one fall over on me because of the wind. So if it gets really windy out, I'll break out the zip ties and I'll zip them to the drive over mast. But that's at Rock Cut at the dog park on the east side of 90. And if you ever got a QSL card from me, which I know one person has in here at least, that's the logo for my QSL card. So I actually used I used AI to create this, and it gets funnier the longer you look at it, because those aren't real radios. He's obviously not logging because he's drawing that looks like a helicopter. We have no mountains in Illinois, and I've never seen my dog wear a hat before. So, but that's pretty much it for my little quick and dirty presentation. So does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, John, can you talk a little bit about logging? And the reason I ask is, like I said, I'm the guy sitting in my ham shack and I'll hear the guys out there in the park activating and I'll reach out to them and have QSO. I'm just throwing it in my N3 FJT.
Right.
Does that in any way, I mean, is there something special as hunters we should be doing to help out the people that are activating? Or does my N3 FJP sync up with your thing somehow and you get credit?
No, it doesn't handle anything like that. The one thing I would do as a hunter is keep an eye on your email for the next day, because I've had to email people before and be like, hey, I just want to make sure I didn't buzz this call sign. This is you that I contacted, correct? And 90% of the time it's been like, yeah, that was me. Okay, cool. Just to make sure I have.
So
the way I log,
let me ask it another way then. Is there a special logging application?
Yeah.
POTA app?
Right. So the way I handle my logbooks is by paper. And then from that point, I go home, and if you're an Apple user, it's Polo, Polo. That's the way I log my contacts. You can also do it live there. It'll auto spot you through the POTA.app website. Windows wise, you can use Hammers, HAMRS, to either log your contacts live. And then also on the POTA.app website, if I have like 10 contacts here and they just started a function on their logging website, it's on the sub menu, you can actually hand jam in your contacts on the POTA website. Download the .ada file that it creates, and it'll upload that information onto your profile. So then if you wanted to, you could also take that ADA file and then upload it to, QRZ or Logbook or whatever logging program you have. So.
I'm turning on, I don't do anything.
I have a question about your
My
logging.
hunter log, I don't do anything.
I have a question about your logging. Do you rely, how to put this? Does it count towards your contesting, right? A lot of times you do.
Yeah.
Okay, so if they don't confirm on the other end, but you have it in your logbook,
Right.
you upload it and everything, but it's not confirmed.
They don't have to confirm it.
Okay.
The hunters don't have to confirm anything, but they still gain credit for the contact as well as awards. So
Okay.
a majority of my awards are from the hunters actually get more awards than the activators, it seems like. Because for hunters, it's like, oh, I make 10 contacts here, or like, hunt down 10 stations. There's some where it's like, it's very time based for the activator, where it's like, oh, you have to make 100 late shift QSOs, which is 0 o'clock Zulu. So it'd be like 8 p.m. our time. And then, well, I'm putting my kids to bed. I'm not going to have a late shift, activator award anytime soon.
So they basically just take your word for it that if it's not confirmed, you have no way to really.
Yeah, it's pretty honest based.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
but me personally, I haven't heard a lot of like issues. I know a couple people have been banned from the program. They've banned their call signs. I've heard of that happening a couple times. But
Patent their logs.
yeah, they're operating at home. They got busted operating from home. So
Do you self-spot when you go out or you?
yeah. So I can usually self-spot where I'm at. I've had it happen before at Maumute where I wasn't in a good spot with the cell service, but I had enough to call my friend or call someone or, hey, can you spot me real quick? But yeah, you can
You
still
need to
spot.
get more responses if you do, because
Yeah.
guys will look at the cluster and they'll say, oh, I haven't worked that station.
And the way
Yeah.
and the way it works with self-spotting with POTA is if you know you're going to be somewhere, especially on the CW and the FT8 side of things. I'm not sure how much it works for voice. So like let's say, tomorrow at 8 a.m. I'm going to go to Rock Cut. Well, I can actually schedule that time ahead. And then when I start calling CQ on CW, once the RBN picks me up, the POTA website also reads off of the reverse beacon network. It'll pick up that spot and say NG9M is here, and then it will auto spot me on the POTA website using the reverse beacon network.
I was unable to make an entry for tomorrow.
Okay.
You have to do, at least what I found is I have to do it on that day.
Right.
I will be there at 1300 or whatever.
Yeah, and you could see the scheduled spots on that website. I've seen some far out as like 30 days.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
I'll have to look at that again then.
Yeah, especially if they know they're gonna go on vacation.
Right.
Somewhere.
Or go into a spot where they don't know.
I will respot if somebody looks, if I'm working hunting and it looks like somebody's, if they've been making comments that they're struggling, I'll make sure I respot them.
Yeah, I always, if I'm hunting someone down, I always respot them.
Yeah.
Because I've done it before where you call QRT, you can actually, there's a button there, you can see what spots you've had. And then I've saved a handful of call signs. Where I'm like, it was like NT4C. No, it was actually NE. I goofed it up. And so I'm like, it's right there. So.
Yeah, I really like the activator logs, and they've helped me out a few times after I got my all states for POTA hunting, I was going for all states with QRZ, and there were a couple people on QRZ that I sent confirm requests to. And they'd go, I don't have you in my log, I've never worked you, and I go and take a screenshot from their activator log and say, this might help your memory. It's the only ones that do that log in POTA is the activator. So they had to have uploaded that, so that helped me out.
The only time I ever worked Hawaii was it was a POTA guy out in Hawaii. And that was the only state I was missing for, worked all states.
Yeah, probably.
So I sent him an email, I'm like, hey, can you confirm this? So he's like, yeah, no problem. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you put your call sign on the dog's hat.
Yeah.
A little better. And also,
Well, I'm not that hairy anymore.
can you hold up your keyer again?
What?
Your keyer, can you hold it up again?
Yeah, this guy.
I'd like to bid $5 before Larry.
So, anyone else?
I just want to comment, John's close to a milestone, which
I'm close to a handful of them.
you're 1,000.
So it's called the Kilo Award. It's for having 1,000 contacts at one state park. So, and then also, I think it's called the Fox Den. So activating a park 40 times. So like if I go out tomorrow and I get 27 contacts, well, I got the Fox Den and the Kilo. And then there's a bunch of other, there's so many awards out there for that. So, but also, this is, Parks on the Air has been a good, well, activating, it's been a good experience because now I want to get into contesting. So now I know how to handle a pileup now, especially on CW. Field day, if you want to learn how to go, handle a pileup before field day, go out to Rock Cut and go activate. You'll probably run into a pileup or two. So instead of burning all your nerves out on field day for the first time handling a pileup, you'll be at Rock Cut burning your nerves out there.
Have you ever run into the circumstance where you're out working, say, rock cut, and somebody else comes out, sets up and is running rock cut too?
Yeah, I actually ran into that at James Pate State Park.
Okay.
I was a guy that I ran into someone else.
Okay.
The guy was set up there for a couple hours, and I asked him how much longer he was going to be, and he's like, "Oh, I'll be here 20 more minutes." I'm like, "Oh, perfect." Guy spent another hour out there. He left with like 30 plus confusos. So, and I even tried to give him like, "Hey," and I was like, "Oh, how far do you live?" He's like, I live 10 minutes down the road. I'm like, "Well, I live all the way out in Rockford." So I try to, you just gotta be patient with other people if you run into them.
Can you only have one operator at a time?
So we were both running CW,
Okay.
but it's really hard to do a twofer, which is two operators at the same time on CW. And I was still pretty young at that point in my experience.
So you could have somebody doing CW, somebody doing voice, somebody doing digital, and it wouldn't be an issue if you're doing that.
Yeah, you can do that. You can have multiple operators at one park at one
Okay.
time. Each operator, each call sign, will have to upload their own logs.
Okay.
So
I've had as many as 5 at one park that contacted and, stand by for the another operator and, 10 minutes
You can't
later,
do that.
you're still writing down calls.
there was
Much on bands other than 20?
I've activated every band between 6 meters and 80 meters.
All right.
So
Our best results have been on 20.
yeah, you can use the work bands as well. You can use 12, 17, and 30, and 60. I've seen people use 60 before. But I would like to activate every band at least once. That's kind of like my next long-term goal. So, but, yeah.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.